I want to talk to Catholics right now. What is happening in all of our churches, but this one is about the Catholic Church, is terrifying. And if you are a Catholic that wants to save Catholicism as you know it, then you need to pay attention right now, and you must get active. Everything is under attack. Friend of mine wrote to me over the weekend, attended a mass at a Catholic church in New York City. He actually, this is how much of a Catholic he is. He went to church on a date. Okay. His wife has died years ago, and he started to date, and so now he took her to church. Okay, that's a devout Catholic for you. And they wanted to go to church on this date to worship God, blah, blah, blah. They went online. I guess now you have to make reservations to attend Mass. But they put on their, best church clothes, and, they were ready to go to church. What they experienced, they said they have never seen, goes beyond the history and teachings of the Catholic Church. And I want to read the letter that he sent to me. Glenn, as somebody who has been a devout Catholic all my life, I truly believe the Catholic Church is on the precipice of being attacked and falling from within. I am writing to you because I deeply love my faith. I was raised Catholic as a young boy by my family and chose to remain Catholic once I reached adulthood. I love everything about being Catholic. I love our history, the traditions, the structure of the Mass, the holy days of obligation, the church doctrine, the underpinnings of our faith, which is to know, love, and serve God. The highlight of my week is when I walk through the doors of my local parish every Sunday with my boys to leave the madness of the outside world behind and find the inner peace and become grounded in the teachings of the Word of God as read from the Bible. But what I witnessed this last weekend in the church was anything but that. I fear too many in the church have fallen dead asleep and stand now silent as propaganda that has no place within the church or the Mass has been ushered in by liturgical ministers who have started spreading social and political narratives from the pulpit. This is great evil, and there is great evil within the church. Satan is masterful in his disguises and deceitful in revealing his true intent. That evil is growing and seeks to destroy the very church that we as Catholics believe was founded by Jesus Christ himself and come to rely on in, week out. To my great dismay and shock, what I experienced this past weekend in a Catholic Mass did not come from God or the Bible, not anywhere whatsoever. This is what we experienced when we walked into Mass. Upon walking into the Church of St. Francis, located in New York City, Sunday morning, the very first thing this couple noticed was a large black and white photo of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and others placed off to the right of the altar under the statue of Jesus. Then, before the closing prayer to the end of the Mass, the entire congregation was invited to stand and join in the prayer for racial justice. We have the video of this. Watch.
I now invite you to stand and join in us in the prayer for racial justice by responding yes to each of the following statements. Do you support racial justice, equity, and compassion in human relations? Yes. Do you affirm that white privilege is unfair and harmful to those who have it and to those who do not? Yes. Do you affirm that white privilege and the culture of white supremacy must be dismantled wherever it is present? Yes. Do you support racial equity, justice, and liberation for...
He says it gets even better because the Church of St. Francis, the website provides links to racial justice resources that includes articles, books, and other media addressing white privilege, systematic racism, defunding the police, and support for Black Lives Matter. You cannot be Catholic and support Black Lives Matter. They want to disrupt the traditional nuclear family. The Church of St. Francis Xavier also runs St. Francis High School, so God only knows what's being taught inside the walls of this school as it reopens. This past weekend, the gospel reading in the Catholic churches around the world was from Matthew 16. In it, Jesus is having a conversation with his disciples. At one point, turns to Peter and says, "Get behind me, Satan. You're an obstacle to me. You're thinking not as God does, but as human beings do." How ironic, because Jesus could be speaking those very same words today to many of the clergy from within the walls of the Catholic Church who have abandoned church doctrine and adopted the evil that my friend and I witnessed this weekend. The clergy is leading their flock astray. Nothing that transpired was from God or could be found in the Bible. If you are Catholic, no. If you are a believer in God, whatever your practice is, there is no longer time to think, I should prepare. Evil is at the front door, but it is also within the walls of our churches itself. If you remain silent, you are complicit with it. Silence in the face of evil is evil itself. Shame on all of us who support this behavior or stand in silence or haven't done enough homework to know who Black Lives Matter Inc. is. And I say Inc. because it is a corporation with $150 or $175 million in funding. And if you don't stop it now in our schools and our churches, you will lose the sanctity and soul of the Mass or the service that you attend on Saturday or on Sundays. You will not be able to answer or argue your case when your time comes to say that you stood up for him and what he believed, the power of the individual and individual salvation. You will not be able to look him in the eye and say, I stood when it got tough. It's just beginning to get tough. Please, all of us, with love and peace and the peace of Christ in our hearts, must begin to wake those who we have a chance of waking up and get away from the poison that is being slowly poured down our throats and the throats of our children.